During this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers. They are not intended in any way to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease.
Welcome to Weight Loss Conversations, brought to you by 3 Health Medical Weight Loss Solutions. Your hosts, Bradley Butterfield, Marlene Sexton, and Brandy Wiltermuth, have over 30 years' experience treating health issues associated with excess body weight. Get ready for an in-depth, honest discussion about weight loss and your health. Be sure to visit our website at 3.health. That's THREE.health.
Good morning. Welcome to Weight Loss Conversations with 3 Health Medical Weight Loss Solutions. I'm Brad Butterfield, the Executive Director and a practicing psychotherapist with 3 Health. And with me this morning are my 2 partners, Brandy Wiltermuth and Marlene Sexton.
Good morning.
Morning.
Marlene, what's happening this morning?
Well, it's Christmas Eve, and it's great to be here, and not much happening, really, other than weight loss solutions.
Right. And I don't know about you guys, but I got a house full of people. So when we're done with this, I'm going to go celebrate.
Yep, I'll have a house full when I get home. Last week, we discussed surviving the holidays.
Yeah, how's that going?
Good tips from last week. So this week, we thought we might go into kind of introducing ourselves and make it a more personal story about how we ended up with 3 Health.
How did we get here?
How did we get here? Well, I'll start.
Go for it.
I have been a psych nerd since I was a child.
Mm-hmm.
I think I read the first Psychology Today when it came out in 1967, so that gives you an idea of how long I've been doing this, interested in psychology. I was always interested in psychology, but I became a bartender for many years.
That's a good experience.
It was good experience. I got to hear stories that were interesting and kind of solve them in my mind.
It was interesting because I was sitting, not that I typically do this, but I was sitting at a bar this weekend up at the ski resort, and it has changed because everybody at the bar was holding their cell phones, staring at their cell phones, and I looked at the person next to me and I said, it sure has changed to be a bartender. They weren't nobody was talking to one another. I was kind of laughing about that. So.
Yeah, that would be
ignoring the bartender and looking at their phones.
Oh, I wouldn't have liked being. I needed to talk to people and see what's up in their life. And there was a lot of excitement in some regulars' lives, so I liked it. But then one day, a woman asked me, are you going to do this all your life? And I said, I don't know what I'm really going to do. But she said, if you could be anything, what would it be? And I said, I always wanted to be a therapist. And I told her all the reasons I couldn't be a therapist, that, it took too long, too expensive. Nobody in my family liked psychology. And she said, you should probably do what you want to do. And that was a real change for me.
Good advice.
Yeah.
So, Marlene, just so I understand this, were you bartending when you went to college? Is that where you started?
Yeah.
Or okay.
When I was doing my undergrad work, I was a bartender. And then I got married and had kids, and I still was bartending.
Really?
Yeah. And it worked out well. I worked nights. My husband worked days, so we didn't have the usual childcare issues. And I enjoyed it, but I knew that I wanted something deeper. And that's when a therapist said, well, you should do what you really want to do. And I thought I was too old to go to grad school. I was 33.
Wow.
She pointed out that nobody's going to go to a therapist unless they have a little life experience. And I actually had a lot of life experience by the time I was 33. So I went to grad school and I became a therapist, and I worked for quite a while in domestic violence and sexual assault issues.
You took the easy route right away.
Yeah, they always give the interns the toughest stuff.
Wow.
But I did. I really.
How long did you
it.
do that in
About
domestic
12
violence?
Years.
My goodness.
Yeah, I was actually a expert witness in Superior Court in California, because most crisis workers burn out in about 18 months, and so the defense always wanted. Or the prosecutors always wanted somebody with more experience when you get on the stand, that you could say you've been doing it for 5 years, 7 years, 12 years. It was really interesting. And I also practiced my advisor in grad school wouldn't let me see a client until I had a way of leaving the work behind. I had to come up with a routine that said I'm done working for the day and practicing self-care. So after I was done with my daily clients, I'd go into the bathroom, wash my hands, and picture all that pain going down the drain. And it worked. I never burned out. And so it was a pretty good career. But
It can be a tough field if you can't leave it behind.
Yeah,
it can
you
follow
have
you
to.
home at night. And,
Yep,
yeah.
you can't absorb it at all. And so it was really interesting. And then we got our last kid. My husband and I got our last kid launched and decided to move out of California. And we came up here to Washington. And I started private practice. And in building my private practice, I wrote some letters to weight loss doctors and said, told them about the behavioral component of weight loss. And that's where I met you guys. We
Right.
talk about how we.
What made you think about going from domestic violence and assault and writing letters to weight loss physicians? That's a bit of a leap.
Yeah, I really one of the things with domestic violence, sexual assault, childhood abuse, I had a lot of clients that struggled with their weight because they became emotional eaters
Wow.
and numbing out with food, and so it was kind of seemed like when I started thinking where my experience was, I wanted to do something that really made a difference rather than. I mean, it did make a difference to get people into safe relationships and safe harbors and stuff, but wanted to go even deeper than that. So just started thinking about the weight issues and the behavioral and emotional changes that come with it. It's not about eating less and exercising more. It really, weight issues can go really deep. 10, 15 pounds might be a cultural thing. It might be an assertiveness thing. When I wrote
a knowledge thing.
Knowledge thing, not knowing how to eat, and it's a boundary thing. A lot of people put themselves on the back burner to take care of others, and
So this is fascinating. I'm to hear this because our clients come to us initially for weight loss, and as we work with them in therapy, we will discover the emotional issues. As you're saying, many of them come from abuse. And yet you came from starting with clients who were abused, and on the backswing, so to speak, you saw correlatively weight problems or eating problems, emotional eating problems.
Emotional eating, really coping skills, and how, you can self-soothe with food, which, of course, depending on how much self-soothing you have to do, it can be pretty profound. So working with that, and that's, Brad and I did a lot of psych evaluations for people before they had weight loss surgery. And that's how I actually met Brad and Brandy. And we decided after several years working in a surgical weight loss clinic that we'd start our own and really be able to work at the dynamics the way we had seen thousands of people, how to really make those changes with weight loss, sustainable weight loss, lifestyle changes.
Because we're in that business of sustainable weight loss, not just a gimmicky, diety program that helps people lose,
10 pounds in 12 days.
well, any amount of weight in a very short period of time without any consideration of what happens after that weight is lost.
Yeah, because there can be relationship changes. There can be addictions that creep up. There can be, if you're not soothing with food, old wounds can start to surface. So it really is, it's very complex. Obesity is a complex disease. And I remember the three of us talking at the other clinic about how we'd like to really tackle it holistically.
So Marlene, I know that you're a cognitive behavioral therapist, which for our listeners speaks primarily to what's happening now in people's lives and how quickly we can get to making change. But when we're talking about abuse and history, sometimes you do have to go back further in somebody's life, don't you? To deal
Yeah,
with these
we get
issues.
shaped as children, and our belief system gets shaped. That, if somebody grows up with abuse, they might become very hypervigilant about making sure other people are happy, because as a, say, 8-year-old, that's important that people are happy if somebody's going to get hurt. And so they become very hypervigilant about that and making sure others are happy. They might not have abuse leads to low self-esteem, to believe you're not worth taking care of.
And how are you finding the work now that we've gotten up and running? And
I think it really truly is a passion. I love what we do. I love hearing the clients' stories. I like seeing the changes happen. People gaining insights. They oftentimes will see Brandy first, and you'll tell them about how to eat. And when they come in a few minutes later,
and you have to fix them up.
and now they're like, I never knew that. The importance of protein, or the differences that we hear from dieting. A diet story, and most of our clients have been on many diets, and they talk about
and
good
they've been
food.
Successful.
Yeah,
It's
they've
not
been
long
successful
term.
losing the weight, and then when they gain it back, which is about 95% of the time, they lose it again the same way, and it's just not sustainable. But with our program, that's our goal. It's probably a goofy business plan to say we're going to help you and you're never going to have to come back, where a commercial diet is you can lose weight, and then when it comes back, you'll remember how you lost it.
And then you'll come back again. Yeah.
So our approach, and Marlene, you and I both deal with the behavioral, and Brandy deals with the medical side of our practice as the clinician. So we're going to take a break real quickly, and when we come back, Brandy, I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit about your story.
Okay.
And about being the clinician in our practice.
Oh,
so
boy.
let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll pick up there.
All right.
Sounds good.
With decades of experience helping patients change their lives, 3 Health Weight Loss Solutions can help you too. At 3 Health, we provide proven and science-based solutions for realistic, achievable, and sustainable results. We're unique, just like you, and the relationships you have with food and yourself. Find out how we treat obesity, depression, high cholesterol, and more. Just give us a call and change your life today. 425-606-0022. Or visit us online at 3.health. That's THREE.health.
Imagine being fired because of who you love. Imagine being denied medical treatment because of who you marry. Imagine being evicted because of who you are. Millions of Americans don't have to imagine this. They have to live it. Because in 31 states, it's legal to discriminate against LGBT people. Get the facts at beyondido.org. Brought to you by the Gill Foundation and the Ad Council.
Alternative Talk 1150 is your sports organization's safe bet when it comes to airing your team's games. Our players are all seasoned professionals when it comes to sports programming. Imagine your games being heard on local radio. Your team deserves the MVP treatment. Call 425-653-1150 today to learn how affordable and fun it is to broadcast your games on the radio. Call 425-653-1150 and make your next season something special. That's 425-653-1150.
Finding and achieving your ideal weight is difficult. Diet and exercise choices are overwhelming. Sometimes it's just easier to quit before even starting. Bradley Butterfield, Marlene Sexton, and Brandy Wiltermuth, with a total 30 years treating body weight issues, host a show to tackle myths and promote success. Tune in for Weight Loss Conversations, brought to you by 3 Health Medical Weight Loss Solutions, Mondays at 8 a.m. That's Mondays at 8 a.m.
Get inspired every hour right here on Alternative Talk 1150.
Welcome back. This is Weight Loss Conversations with 3 Health Medical Weight Loss Solutions. This is Brad Butterfield, and I'm with my partners Brandy Wiltermuth and Marlene Sexton. And before the break, we were telling our personal stories, and Marlene Sexton was sharing her personal story with us as our director of therapy. And now I'd like to ask Brandy Wiltermuth to talk to us about being clinical director at 3 Health and share a little bit about her professional and personal story with us. Brandy?
Right. Sure. So I guess I started my nurse practitioner career in a totally different field, which was oncology. And I went into that because I had been working in oncology and an acute care setting in the hospital, and so I felt like I knew a fair amount about it, and but it wasn't really what I was passionate about. And I learned through that process that I was more interested in preventative medicine than end of life kind of care, which I didn't mind, hospice and things like that, but I just wanted to help people prevent some of those illnesses instead of taking care of people after they already acquired them. So I was interested in weight loss, although I really had no idea what that really entailed. I was interested in it for 2 reasons. One is because I thought it was preventative, and secondly, I had excess weight that I had been struggling with, and not that I was self-serving in terms of, oh, I'll figure this out if I become an expert, but I was personally interested in how does this work, because I wasn't really getting the progress or making the progress that I wanted to personally. So I answered an ad for a weight loss clinic and got hired by Dr. Ed Hendricks, who is a pioneer in the use of appetite suppressants, prescription medications, and had a very successful weight loss clinic that I worked at for 3 years, and I really learned a lot there. And
so,
then,
Brandy, let me interrupt you for a second.
Sure.
When you say a pioneer, that speaks to our industry or bariatric medicine being relatively new.
New as a specialty, and I think it's relatively, new as a result of what's going on culturally in society and what we're seeing in medicine, right? So as people get heavier and heavier, people started to look into why is this happening, and then it eventually became thought of and studied as a disease process.
So those diets have been around forever.
Diets have been around forever.
Okay.
And really, I think weight loss doctors have been around forever, but like in the 70s, I'm not sure if that was the same as what we're doing today.
So, yeah, we don't do the grapefruit and egg diet.
Right, and we don't do the rainbow of diet pills that were basically speed.
Yeah.
So anyway, Ed, had been working in medical weight loss for 20 years when I started there, and really taught me a lot about the medications and how they were helpful, and then also instructed me on how to do individualized low carb and very low carb diets using protein supplementation. And
when you say that it's individualized, so it's not going to be one size fits all.
Right, and that was one of the main things that he helped me understand, is that everybody's bodies are different, and so the recommendations have to be different based on muscle mass and body fat and goals, and then other comorbid conditions that people are experiencing because of their excess weight. So I learned a ton, and eventually I got antsy like I usually do, and I thought, I need to become a more serious nurse practitioner, which I think at the time I didn't understand the breadth and depth of obesity medicine, and I also had some desire to get some of my student loans repaid. So I took a position working in internal medicine in Colorado, which was a population that was very high percentage of type 2 diabetes, and learned a lot there. And I applied a lot of the weight loss principles to that, but the administration there wasn't that excited about having somebody focus on weight loss. So after that, I realized that all I really wanted to do was weight management, and my husband and I started looking for a job in a location that had good recreational stuff and mountains and wasn't too big, and then an opportunity for me to work in weight management exclusively, and we found that opportunity in Bellingham. So we moved there, and I worked at a clinic there for a few years, and after a while, it became pretty obvious to me that there were some missing pieces.
I know what clinic you're talking about, and I sent them one of my letters, and they interviewed me and said that they didn't have a need for a therapist.
Yeah.
For behavioral changes.
And actually, that's how I first heard your name, was through that clinic, and that you had, been in the clinic, and they were looking at that. But no matter what happened, we just couldn't get the resource incorporated into the program. So I started looking elsewhere, and that's actually when I found the previous clinic that we all worked at. Brad actually hired me to work in medical weight loss, and I was so excited to finally have that behavioral piece, which I knew after, at that point, it was 6 or 7 years of working in weight management, was essential for people to become, understand that it's lifestyle, and that this isn't just about losing weight, it's about changing their relationship with food and sometimes other people and sometimes themselves. And as a medical person, I'm not qualified to do that. I can help identify those struggles, but you don't really want me being your therapist. I can tell you that. And, I wanted that piece of it for a really long time, and until I started working at the previous clinic, didn't have that opportunity.
But I would jump in here, Brandy, because as a clinician, you do some great things. In fact, Marlene and I marvel at the things that you've taught us as a clinician.
As far as how to eat, and food being a medicine.
Food is medicine. Yeah.
And I know that from the behavioral standpoint that we needed more science behind it as well. So I think the combination is, I think it's a really good combination.
It's powerful. I think
when
we join forces, and I'm pretty sure people aren't really expecting what we offer, at least not yet. They don't know about it when they come in. But soon enough, they realize that this is different. This is an approach that they haven't taken before. And you can just see the excitement and hope that it brings to people.
So Brandy, as a medical provider, you do unique things for our patients when they come in. I mean, the first thing that you do is order labs.
Right. We have to see where people are at metabolically. Every person's prescribed eating plan is based on their body and the issues that are arising because of excess body weight and body fat specifically. So every plan is individualized, and then we look at how medications can help influence understanding the signals of satiety, hunger, appetite, because many people have very distorted understanding of what those signals are, and they're really messed up, probably from dieting.
Yeah. I hear that a lot, that I don't, when I ask people, do you ever eat when you're not hungry? And they're like, I don't know if I'm hungry or not.
Yeah. Or, there's a question on our application that says, do you eat when you're not hungry? And almost 100% of people answer yes to that. So we really help people understand what their body is trying to say and get it to communicate clearly about those signals and what that really means. Because if people are hypoglycemic and hopped up on caffeine, those are very conflicting messages that the body might be getting. And it's with food and with the medicines, we can help people understand what's really going on there, and we can remedy it.
But with the lab results that come in, typically, what are those? A week or two after you run
a few
them?
days.
Oh, a few days.
Yeah.
Okay, so we might have a patient that comes in who's pre-diabetic and, it isn't aware of that?
Well, either they're not aware of it or their regular doctor hasn't really made that an issue to bring to their attention. And that's the most common, is that people are like, oh, I was told it's okay. I got to watch it. I'm like, okay, watch what? But in reality, we do a little bit more in-depth testing to look at what is the degree of this state of prediabetes, or in fact, we find a few people that are already diabetic and they didn't know it.
So you would then craft or prescribe a specific eating plan for that patient?
Right. Based on
Okay.
a whole bunch of different things too, not just, medically what I think they need, but what they're willing to do, how aggressive they want to be, what their lifestyle is like, what their day-to-day living is like. It looks a lot different for someone who works night shift than it does for someone who's a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah, a lot of times their doctors, they'll say that the doctor told them they just need to lose weight, and they don't, and the doctor doesn't give them any advice on how to do that,
Right,
which can be
because
dangerous.
they don't know.
Yeah, that's probably
Or what's more common is they give them terrible advice, like
Mhm.
just go eat vegetables.
So as a medical bariatrician, you're going to take control of that and or manage their health
Yeah.
in that area.
Yeah, because it's more about being healthy overall.
Okay. All right.
And understanding what a realistic goal weight is, not based on the BMI scale, but their own body.
Okay.
Yeah, super fun
Yeah.
and helpful.
and helpful.
Personally, your personal story, you are small. You're a small person. You're
I'm
petite.
tiny,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're tiny. How has that played out with working with patients?
Well, I wasn't always this petite.
Okay.
I mean, I was always this height as an adult, but I was heavier before. And like I said, got interested in weight loss in general just because I was struggling with it. So I guess it plays out in that I live what I tell people to do. I live the lifestyle that I'm teaching people. And I think it's kind of a luxury that I get to do that because it keeps it at the forefront for me every day. And I model behavior for other people. And
I think it's important that I can speak for myself here too, that we've kind of walked through it. My issues were with body image,
Mhm.
and I really have empathy for what people go through with that, and a good understanding.
Yeah, I mean, I was just doing what the standard recommendations were, and it wasn't working. And so I started to think there's something wrong with me because I'm doing what they said. And I think most patients end up coming in with that same experience of I'm following the rules, it's just not working. So there's something wrong with me, whether it's my metabolism or my thyroid or some other kind of, behavioral issue. Like I just can't stop doing these things or I do too much of that. But it wasn't really any of that. It was just figuring out how food works in my body and then practicing and figuring it out and experimenting. And
Do you think when people get these explanations or given these explanations that there's a sense of relief or a sense of understanding that helps them?
I think most people, when we go through what food does in the body as far as how macronutrients behave and how they can be used to influence how the body's storing energy or releasing energy, it's like a big relief that, I was, first of all, given the wrong information for all this time, but there is a solution, and it's not rocket science. It's just I have to learn what works for me, and that's what I hope people take away
Okay.
from our first visits.
Well, we're going to take a break. This is Weight Loss Conversations with 3 Health, Medical Weight Loss Solutions, and I'm Brad Butterfield. I'm here with my partners, Brandy and Marlene, and after the break, I get the opportunity to tell a little bit
Brad's
about my
story.
story. Yeah.
Great.
So we'll take a break.
Finding and achieving your ideal weight is difficult. Diet and exercise choices are overwhelming. Sometimes it's just easier to quit before even starting. Bradley Butterfield, Marlene Sexton, and Brandy Wiltermuth, with a total 30 years treating body weight issues, host a show to tackle myths and promote success. Tune in for Weight Loss Conversations, brought to you by 3 Health Medical Weight Loss Solutions, Mondays at 8 a.m. That's Mondays at 8 a.m.
Even though there's an empty seat, our son will always have a place at our table.
Even though the holidays will never be the same, my sister will always have a place in our family.
Even though life goes on, my mom will always have a place in my heart.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
Alternative Talk 1150. We're on your radio at 1150 a.m. We're on your HD radio at 98.9 Channel 3.
So many ways to listen.
We're on the web at 1150kknw.com, streaming live audio and video as well as MP3 archives of many of our shows.
So many ways to listen.
And now, we're on your smartphone or tablet. Download our free app in the Apple App Store or Google Play and take Alternative Talk 1150 anywhere you go.
So many ways to listen.
Introducing 3 Health Medical Weight Loss Solutions, a unique weight loss clinic backed by real medical research with a treatment focusing on the entire person, mind, body, and spirit. From medical services for obesity and high blood pressure to behavioral services for emotional eating and depression, 3 Health Medical Weight Loss Solutions can help you change your relationship with food, your relationship with yourself, and with life. Find out more, 425-606-0022. Or online at 3.health. That's 3.health.
Going our own way every day. Alternative Talk 1150.
Welcome back. This is Weight Loss Conversations with 3 Health Medical Weight Loss Solutions. I'm Brad Butterfield, and I'm here with my partners this morning, Brandy Wiltermuth and Marlene Sexton. And we've been telling our personal stories this morning. We heard Marlene's story and Brandy's story.
Now we'd like to hear yours, Brad.
Okay. Well, professionally, this is my second career. In 2011, I was, in my second career, I was doing an internship at a local hospital, and I was approached by 2 local bariatric surgeons, and I had built a number of companies in my first career, and they asked me if I would build a therapy services division preoperatively and postoperatively around their surgical practice. And so I agreed to do that. And it's interesting, Marlene, I've told you this story before. They gave me the name of 3 local psychotherapists to interview and to speak with that were doing bariatric psychotherapy, and the first 2 that I called, not that you were third on the list, but you were in the way
alphabetical.
Because, well, you were in Bellingham, and the first 2 were in Seattle, where I was living, and so I called the first 2, and they kind of blew me off. They weren't interested in talking to me, and I called you, and you were very welcoming, and you said, "Sure, come on up and spend the afternoon with me." So I drove to Bellingham. And you and I met, and I would like to think we really hit it off. You spent the afternoon with me and talked to me about your bariatric psychotherapy practice and more importantly, about your enthusiasm in working with this patient population.
It doesn't take long when you're with Marlene to be like, yep, she gets it.
It was great.
It truly is a passion, and somebody calling saying, will you talk to me about it? I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Please, let me talk to you about what we do.
Yeah, get me to stop talking about it is the tough part.
And so you made me feel very welcome. It was great. And so I started a pre-operative therapy practice with, I think there were 3 or 4 of us. There was an exercise physiologist, and there was a registered dietitian, and then yourself and me, and you and I did a lot of preoperative psychological evaluations for patients that were candidates for weight loss surgery.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think over the years we've probably done thousands of those.
Yeah,
a lot of them. And that was in 2011, and that practice grew rapidly. I was just thinking about that this morning. within a couple of years, we were doing about 25,000 patient visits annually, and my staff grew from the 4 of us to about 27 providers.
We did a lot of post-surgical counseling.
Right, we did.
Help people.
You mean they don't just get the surgery and everything's
turns out
fairy
it wasn't
tales and
magic.
butterflies?
Yeah,
Weird.
the surgery wasn't a magic pill.
No, and before they had surgery, we made sure each patient knew that this was going to require a lifestyle change. That it
and how many went? Yeah, I get it.
And then afterwards, they come and they go, "Wow, this is different
Yeah.
than I thought it would be." So we were there to do follow-ups.
You guys got to walk with them.
Yeah.
Through that whole process.
What we did, and we did at that time, we had the support of the practice. It grew quite large, and we worked with the patients post-operatively for approximately 2 years after their surgery. And that was a revolutionary idea at the time. I used to go to national conferences with surgeons, and it wasn't that long ago, and they would kind of roll their eyes and think that we were a little bit crazy.
Well, I
to
think,
do that.
yeah, I don't think there is that happening in most practices. In
With
fact, I don't even
3
know.
Health, it's pretty unique. The myth I'd really like to dispel is that therapy is, a lot of people think of it as scary, something scary to go through.
Or
It's
that
about
there's something wrong with them.
something's wrong. They're insane or something. And therapy is just about making changes. That's
Right,
all it
right.
is.
And our patients were finding that post-operatively, they had lots of enthusiasm and vigor the months following the surgery, but maybe 12, 15, 18 months following the surgery, they were dealing with the same issues emotionally that they were dealing with preoperatively.
Without
That's
their,
right.
their drug of choice.
Yeah,
That's correct.
And there's a honeymoon phase with when somebody has surgery where the weight's coming off rapidly and they think that, okay, well, my goal is being met. But then afterwards, it's still, if you hate your job, you're still going to hate your job.
Right.
Or
So
if you're
Brad-
struggling in family systems or other issues.
Relationships, yeah.
And I would say the surgery is quite dramatic, and weight loss does happen, but this isn't just unique to the surgery patient. This is also something that even a medical weight loss patient might deal with. The concept or the idea of being thin and all of your problems will go away just isn't true.
Right.
No. And that's where I think, with 3 Health, that we really look at it holistically, lifestyle changes, medical changes.
So, Brad, through your experience, what is something that you've learned that you weren't expecting to, or something that surprised you about the patients and how you worked with them?
Gosh, there's a whole bunch of things.
Okay.
One of the things, Brandy, that might make me a little vulnerable here is working with this patient population. First of all, I love working with the patients. Initially, working with this patient population, especially in a pre-surgical setting, could be a little bit difficult. I wasn't accustomed to some of our larger patients with the high BMIs. I can honestly say that after a time, even a relatively short time, I no longer see people's bodies. That may sound weird to you, but I really don't see their bodies. And I know that a number of our patients might find that difficult, but even today, I don't see people's bodies.
But
Does that make sense
when
to
you started, you were very aware of
probably because it
how-
was a population that obesity wasn't accustomed to, and I truly don't see people's bodies anymore. People come into our clinic or even in the surgical clinic, and that's just not something that's.
I think looking at obesity as a disease and not a character flaw is really important.
Well, and you see people as who they are as people.
Right.
You don't see their bodies. Yeah.
Yeah. Our culture defines, or a lot of people believe that their body defines who they are.
And that's sort of a gift for me because I, on the personal side, was raised in in an environment that was very body conscious.
And bias?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very, very body bias. And so...
but I don't think that culture or the societal expectations about that has really changed. I don't think it's unique to your guys' generation.
But I do
generation.
think about this, and I feel like this is sort of a gift for me that I'm not seeing this, and I don't feel that way.
Raised in a family in a small town where people's bodies did define them, and it is nice to be away from that.
Mm-hmm.
That you see the whole person.
Yeah.
That they're, and obesity being a disease. I know the AMA just classified it as a disease
right
5 years
Which
ago.
I guess their rationale for that is that then physicians would consider taking it more seriously and looking into it more in depth rather than just saying to somebody you need to do something about your weight, which they still do, but hopefully they also think about finding someone that's actually versed in how to help people with this problem instead of just sending them to any random commercial weight loss program and hoping for the best.
Yeah.
So in saying that, and that just popped into my head, Brandy, that obviously wasn't rehearsed. I so dearly, so badly would like our patients to understand that also, because we all know how body conscious all of us are. We all are body conscious. And
the culture won't let us forget it.
That's right. The culture won't. And so part of our work, I hope, and part of my work would be to work with our clients to hopefully be able to let go of some of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's really it's a horrible burden.
So maybe after the break, we'll take a little break, and after the break we can talk a little bit about the process that a patient would go through to get to know 3 Health and what we actually do in that initial step.
I think that's a great idea. So this is Weight Loss Conversations with 3 Health, Medical Weight Loss Conversations. And so we'll take a break, and when we come back, let's do that.
With decades of experience helping patients change their lives, 3 Health Weight Loss Solutions can help you too. At 3 Health, we provide proven and science-based solutions for realistic, achievable, and sustainable results. We're unique, just like you, and the relationships you have with food and yourself. Find out how we treat obesity, depression, high cholesterol, and more. Just give us a call and change your life today. 425-606-0022 or visit us online at 3.health. That's THREE.health.
A lot can happen in 6 seconds. A rodeo ride, a dramatic basketball win, and the world record holder can solve a Rubik's Cube. 6 seconds is how long it takes for an 18-wheeler traveling at a safe speed to come to a complete stop. And in those 6 seconds, that truck will travel the length of 2 football fields. So please, give them room. Never cut in front of a large truck for any reason. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
It's time that you are heard, and I don't mean in just a conversation. I mean really heard. Imagine hosting your very own radio program on Alternative Talk 1150. Talk about being heard. Call 425-653-1150 right now to learn how affordable it can be to host your own radio show. Time slots are going fast, so take hold of this chance by dialing 425-653-1150. Alternative Talk, we have an opportunity waiting just for you.
Finding and achieving your ideal weight is difficult. Diet and exercise choices are overwhelming. Sometimes it's just easier to quit before even starting. Bradley Butterfield, Marlene Sexton, and Brandy Wiltermuth, with a total 30 years treating body weight issues, host a show to tackle myths and promote success. Tune in for Weight Loss Conversations, brought to you by 3 Health Medical Weight Loss Solutions, Mondays at 8 a.m. That's Mondays at 8 a.m.
Alternative Talk 1150. It's good for what ails you. This statement has not been evaluated by the FDA.
Welcome back. This is Weight Loss Conversations with 3 Health, Medical Weight Loss Solutions. I'm Brad Butterfield, and I'm here with my partners, Brandy Wiltermuth and Marlene Sexton. And before the break this morning, we've been talking, we've been telling our personal stories. Marlene told hers, and then Brandy did, and I was able to tell mine a little bit. And Brandy, you suggested that we spend the last few minutes of the program talking about 3 Health and our clinic and our process. So why don't you pick up with that?
Okay. I think most people are a little bit, nervous, or they don't really know where to start. So at 3 Health, we make sure that we provide access to our providers, and we do that with a free consultation. So if people are really unsure about what they're going to get and what the program is, and if they click with the providers, we can meet and without any obligation explain the program and how it works, and people can meet us and see our clinic and get an idea of how that goes.
I like to think that with anything new that any of us do, it just takes a little bit of courage to pick the phone up and get started.
Yeah, so we want people to feel safe that, there's no obligation. It's just about figuring out if it's a good fit. We actually do an application process. So we have people apply to our program.
One of the things I will tell, Marlene, you might relate to this too, with psychotherapy clients, is we call it a therapeutic alliance. And so I think the consultation can be a two-way street. We get to know each other. It's we want to have that alliance with our patients.
It needs to
goes
be a
both
good
ways.
fit.
Yeah.
Right. And
exactly.
we want to make sure that people are being logical about their timing, in terms of it may or may not be the best time for them to tackle this issue, depending on what's going on in their life. And because it wouldn't really be fair to invite someone into our program when we feel like whatever else is going on in their life is going to require so much more of their attention that they wouldn't necessarily give it their best effort because they're required to be paying attention to other things. So we want to have that conversation with people to make sure that it is a good fit, and not just in can we help you lose weight, but is this the right time? Is this the right type of program for you? And we want to do the best by our
them
patients.
to be successful.
Right. We want
Although
them to be
we're
successful.
pretty good at guiding people through the process.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a new experience for everybody,
Right.
so we know that too. But we just want to have the best results for people, so we do that free consultation, and then we accept you into the program based on application and what we think is going to be most successful for you. And then we do a thorough medical evaluation, which includes blood work, EKG testing, a bunch of very well-designed questions that help us to understand what's been going on with your life and your weight and your experience with weight loss and living in your body. And then we also have a behavioral evaluation, and you guys can speak to what that is.
Yeah, when I'm doing a consultation, I want to know where you've been. What of your weight loss? What's your weight loss history? Have you tried other diets? And I really want to know where you're going. What are your goals? Sometimes we end up chunking down goals that they can be lofty in the beginning, and it's like, let's just take small, manageable steps here, so that you do experience success. What's going on in your life? What kind of support do you have? We don't go when we're doing. If somebody signs up for a program, I think it's important to talk about the curriculum. It's not.
Tell us about that.
Well, if somebody feels that they don't need therapy per se, that they just need to know more about what what roadblocks they hit. We have a curriculum that addresses things from awareness to assertiveness skills, boundary
Possible
setting.
saboteurs.
Well, we even talk
saboteurs.
about things, I'll talk about things, what we're going to have a whole show on is the myth of willpower. I don't
Yeah.
believe in it, so don't use it.
So what you're saying is when you start a program for weight loss, you don't enter into therapy.
No, it's an option if you'd like it. Sometimes I'll be working with somebody and they'll bring up, that they were molested as a child, but they don't want therapy. Well, we won't go there if that's not what they want. But then sometimes within the curriculum, maybe week 3 or 4, they're saying maybe I do need to look at this.
Yeah, it gets uncovered, and then it requires a little bit more attention.
And Marlene, a lot of the times we call it therapy. I like to start out and say, let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
Let's talk. And
a weight loss conversation?
No, let's
even
it might not be a weight loss conversation. It might be a conversation about what's going on with your kids or what's going on with your job.
And this curriculum was developed from our experience of
thousands of clients.
What do people come in and say? This is happening. This is why I'm having trouble or struggling, or this is my challenge that is keeping me from being successful in my weight loss. So we took all of that information and we designed a curriculum based on experience and what people generally run into. And we moved through that, and people gain skills. They gain insight. They learn how to manage a lot of different things besides just what I'm doing, which is helping them design their eating style around their life and the families and everything else. That
Because it's interesting. A lot of times just in the conversation, the patients hit our curriculum items. Have you ever noticed that? I mean, we'll be in conversation and we almost wouldn't have to have a curriculum because the curriculum does come up.
Right. But once in a while, somebody comes in crisis and it's like, we were going to talk about this, but obviously we need to talk about whatever happened.
Address what's going on then. And I think it's important, too, to note that we're licensed therapists, not health coaches, just focusing on weight loss, that we are. And as a licensed therapist, especially, I've been doing it about probably 23 or 24 years now. A lot of experience dealing with people's childhood conditioning, our culture, how it affects people, how to make changes without really putting your world into turmoil.
Right.
Right. And from the medical side, we also evaluate, like I said, body composition. We don't really rely on the BMI scale. So that works in a couple different ways. Like if people have been gaining weight and they feel uncomfortable, but the BMI scale is telling them that they're fine, those are people who are kind of confused because they don't like it. They don't like how their body looks and feels, but everyone and the BMI scale is telling them that they're fine. Well, they don't feel fine. So it speaks to those people. It speaks to body composition, helps us understand how much muscle people have. And as a golden rule, during weight loss, people tend to lose muscle. But at 3 Health, our goal is to maintain that muscle so we can maintain metabolism and maintain weight loss.
And Brandy, sometimes people come in and want you to be with a food plan to be highly prescriptive.
Mm-hmm.
Have you found that?
Yeah, and I choose to do that for some people.
Sure.
With eventually, they would come up with their own plan. But a lot of people just want to be told what to do.
Initially.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they kind of expand onto their own choices and learn what works better for them. And we hope, that's a goal of mine, to get them choosing their own food plan.
Okay.
Which can be bought at any grocery store.
Right. It's not special food.
Not
it's not
special food.
Delivered and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's stuff that you can find. It's regular food that's out there. It's more about how the food is put together and the timing of meals and how much at each meal.
Mm-hmm. We get a lot of clients that have bought in over the years of dieting that less calories.
Okay.
So we do individualize.
Yeah, we absolutely do. So we got a lot more to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
We do. And we're going to regroup on next Monday morning at 8 a.m.
Let's talk about that myth of willpower.
The myth of willpower. Well, everybody's going to be doing New Year's resolutions.
So people are highly motivated. We'll
Okay.
talk about resolutions, sustainable change, and the myth of willpower.
Okay,
when
so
it comes
that's going to be our title.
Yeah.
New Year's
Next
resolutions and the myth of willpower. So thank you for joining us.
See you next Monday.
See you next Monday.
Merry Christmas.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to Weight Loss Conversations, brought to you by 3 Health Medical Weight Loss Solutions. We love hearing from our audience, so be sure to drop us a note. We so appreciate when you tell family and friends about our program. Also, don't forget that our past programs are found at 1150kknw.com. That's 1150kknw.com. Have a wonderful week and tune in next Monday at 8 a.m. That's 8 a.m. Monday. Be sure to visit our website at 3.health. That's THREE.health.
The content and opinions expressed during this program were those of the hosts, guests, and callers. They are not intended in any way to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease.